Welcome to the Yahoo Sports 2019 NFL Mock Draft. I'm your host and commissioner, Michelle Gingras, and tonight we'll reveal the first round of the NFL Draft, according to our expert NFL writers and reporters. We've brought together 7 of the best from Yahoo Sports NFL, college, and fantasy. They've all submitted their own selections for each pick, and we've combined them to get one expert consensus mock draft. They don't know the results just yet, but they will when we reveal them tonight. They've got 2 minutes to react and break down each pick, and we'll go through all 32. So let's meet our experts. First, representing the NFL, senior NFL writer Terez Paylor, senior NFL writer Kimberly A. Martin, and senior NFL writer Charles Robinson. And on the college side of the table, we've got national college reporter Pete Thamel, national college columnist Pat Forty, and our newest addition, national draft analyst Eric Edholm. And last, and certainly not least, from the award-winning Fantasy Football Live, senior fantasy writer Andy Behrens. Welcome, everybody. With intros out of the way, let's start the draft. As we all know, the Arizona Cardinals will be selecting first next Thursday night. So let's throw 2 minutes on the clock. And before we reveal your consensus number 1 pick, let's get your thoughts on the most intriguing part of this year's first round. We'll start on the college side. Eric, what stands out to you the most?
Well, I consider myself a little bit of a tight end aficionado. I did play the position for, a couple minutes in high school. But that aside, I think this has a chance to be a really great tight end class. TJ Hawkinson may be a top 10 pick. Noah Fant, maybe his teammate, another first-round pick as well. And it goes on from there. A lot of good athletes at the position. Maybe the best tight end draft we've seen in years. I like it.
As much as you may like a tight end draft, I like a quarterback draft. And it's going to start with one of the most intriguing, polarizing quarterbacks we've ever had, I think, in Kyler Murray. Is he big enough? Will he fit the system well enough? Is Arizona really going to go there? If not, what happens then? So I can't wait to see what happens with Kyler Murray and then every quarterback thereafter.
Well, no offense to Gronk and to you, Pat, but my storylines are going to eat your storylines. This is the draft that's going to make defensive line play sexy again. 11 defensive linemen, I predict, will go in the first round. You've got edge rushers, you've got big old tackles, you've got traditional ends. Bosa, Josh Allen, Ed Oliver, maybe Rashawn Gary, and definitely Quentin Williams will go in the top 10. To me, Quentin Williams is the best player in the entire draft, period, end of story. This draft will be remembered as the best defensive line draft in NFL history.
Well, you just lost your job with the NFL, okay? Because Roger Goodell's not like, let's pitch this as the defensive line draft. It's not. They never want to pitch the defensive line.
I'm Roger Goodell tonight.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're fired, okay? You're gone. So look, I'm with Pat. It's a quarterback draft. I feel like the NFL is always a quarterback draft. And really, to me, I think what's intriguing here is where and when the quarterbacks come off the board. You talk about Kyler Murray. There's going to be a debate about whether or not this is the number 1 guy who goes in the draft. I think if Murray doesn't go 1, all of a sudden we're talking about where does he slide, who does he push. Next thing you know, you got guys dropping. I think the draft is always defined by runs, and I think runs and quarterbacks, I think those are the 2 things that will be really interesting in this draft.
So here's what I want to see. I want to see which teams are willing to take a gamble on those big boom bust guys. The Ed Olivers, the DK Metcalfs, Montez Sweat. I think nights like this are when a lot of NFL jobs are lost, and any decision you make on some of these guys could really dictate your career and the franchise.
I'm going to make it quick because I'm anxious to see who the number 1 pick is.
You just heard that. That was the number 1 pick. So go ahead. Read that up.
So to me, I think it's the cornerbacks, right? Like we talk about this as a pitch and catch league now. We've talked about the quarterbacks. We've talked about sacking the quarterback, which disrupted. The other way to do that is to have cornerbacks that can cover these receivers. So I think Greeni Williams is a first-round pick all day. But beyond that, some of these other guys have some issues that may keep them out of the first round. So I'm interested to see how that goes because you need corners in today's NFL.
Andy. Can't leave you out.
Fantasy-wise, I want to see a receiver land in Indy. I want to see somebody land in Kansas City. I want to see some of these high-octane offenses add skill position players. I'm not sure it's going to happen in the first round, however.
Okay, well, let's get started. That was the sound, which means the first pick is in. And with the first pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL Mock Draft, our experts have selected for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, quarterback, Oklahoma. All right, guys. Maybe no big surprise here. He was the number 1 consensus in all of your drafts. But Pete, Is he the right move for the Cardinals?
Let's put it this way, Michelle. If this pick was a GIF, it would be a bulldozer pushing all of Arizona's chips on the table. They are all in on Cliff Kingsbury, and now they are all in on Kyler Murray, and they're really all in on the new NFL. More spread offenses, some more running quarterback. This is a fascinating pick because it's indicative of a paradigm change in the league. Kyler Murray, 5'10", barely, 207 pounds. He does not look like any quarterback in the NFL in the last generation. I'll say this, I took the Baylor coach Matt Rule yesterday. He thinks Kyler Murray's better than Baker Mayfield. But here's my distinction. Baker Mayfield has a base to him. He has a back. He's 220 pounds. He's got a little back to him. Kyler Murray's built like a ballerina. He's got a tiny little derriere. He does not look like NFL quarterbacks look like. He does not look like the guys that are on the All-Pro lists. He does not look like most of the rest of the guys in this draft. So this is going to be a fascinating touch point and mile marker for that franchise because if they get this pick wrong, it's going to set them back 5 years.
Oh, built like a ballerina. Draft that guy. That's what I want. Hey, really, this could change everything, right? For other small quarterbacks, the type of offense, the air raid. He really is that paradigm changer if he does well in this league, there's no doubt.
And one thing I think that's important to remember is that he doesn't look like any of those all-pro guys that we've talked about in the past. But this isn't your granddaddy's NFL. Yeah. This isn't even my daddy's NFL. It's different now. It's so couched toward the passing. I think he's going to be protected by officials. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to lay this guy out anymore. So I think the rule changes and where the league is headed is really only going to help a guy like this.
One thing I think really interesting here, the distinction about this pick, there's been a lot of smoke in the process late, right? All of a sudden we're questioning, are they going to do this? It's been back and forth. I had a chance to talk to somebody with the Rams, okay? When Cliff Kingsbury came loose at Texas Tech, he's got a relationship with people at the Rams. I think there was a job waiting for him if he did not land elsewhere in the NFL. And I will tell you this, my guy from the Rams told me this. He said, look, I'm not buying this idea that, Josh Rosen fits a Cliff Kingsbury offense. He's like, I know Cliff has been saying, look, I can work with Josh Rosen. But he said flat out, I know that offense inside and out, and the guy to run this offense is absolutely Kyler Murray. That's the pick, bank on it.
Before we get to the second pick, Andy Behrens, very quick, what is the fantasy draft analysis impact in Kingsbury's offense for Murray?
He's a great system fit, right? We know that right away. He's by far the best dual threat quarterback in this draft. He's going to need that mobility because Arizona's offensive line was garbage last year. They graded near the bottom of the league in run blocking, in pass blocking. The rushing ability that Murray has is just going to give him a really high fantasy floor. We know he's going to start right away. I think there's a pretty good chance here we get 4,000 passing yards out of him. Let's call it 24, 25 passing scores. He's got a really good supporting cast with Fitzgerald, with Kirk, with David Johnson. And then I think he's going to rush for about 400 yards and maybe 3-4 touchdowns as well.
All right. Nice stuff. So let's go to the number 2 pick, shall we? With the second pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the 49ers Nick Bosa, defensive end, Ohio State. You're saying, yep, here you all mocked Bosa here, but Terez, you said you prefer Quentin Williams as a player. Do you like Bosa's fit with the 49ers?
Well, to me, I think that I said I like Quentin Williams more. I'm not the only one about that. I think Quentin Williams might be the best player in this draft. And you look at the 49ers, the football team that needs an edge rusher to go with D4. They need a defensive tackle as well. I think Quentin Williams is the better player, so you can make a case for taking him. But Nick Bosa is a stud in his own right. Probably the best edge rusher in the draft. Edge rush is so important in today's NFL. You got to be able to come on both sides of the quarterback and pressure him that way. This guy's a pretty safe pick. He's got a lot of tools. He's a great football player in his own right. Now all of a sudden you reduce Solomon Thomas down. You got a really good defensive front. So I get the pick for the 49ers. I just think Quentin Williams is a better overall football player.
I hear you, Terez. I agree with you there. But here's the thing with Bosa, and you mentioned this, is, game changer. Could make 2-3 plays a game that all of a sudden your team goes from losing to winning. He played 3 games last year is all. He scored a touchdown in 1 and caused a fumble that created a touchdown. So 2 touchdowns responsible as a defensive end. He's got a little bit of that Khalil Mack, Von Miller explosiveness off the edge where he can kind of wreck a protection scheme. So, the question to me is going to be durability, guys. If he's going to get the credit for being a Bosa, you also get the baggage of being a Bosa, where Joey and Nick have both been hurt. Joey's missed 13 NFL games. Nick missed most of last year. He's going to be able to hold up for 16 games.
Don't forget, he had an ACL tear in high school too, Pat, that really curtailed his development and kept him off the field for a limited amount of snaps as a freshman. So we really only saw one full season of Nick Bosa at Ohio State. But there is this. I talked to Urban Meyer today, and he said he thinks Nick Bosa is the best player in the draft. Hands down. Obviously, that was his college coach, but he's been around some pretty good dudes and seen some guys go through. And he thinks it's a no-brainer. He's a star in the NFL.
If the 49ers can't sack the quarterback this year, with all the resources, Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Solomon Thomas, now Bosa, right? And they went out and got D4 too. I mean, Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator, has got to find a way to use those guys. Absolutely.
All right, good wrap, guys. Just in time for the third pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL Mock Draft. Our experts have selected for the Jets, Josh Allen, linebacker, Kentucky. Okay. Charles, you like it? Okay, we like it. I'm getting some nods. Charles, you were actually the only one to not have Josh Allen here. So do you not like him for the Jets in this spot?
Hater.
It's not that I don't like Josh Allen, okay? And it's Quentin Williams.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I put Quentin Williams here because when I would ask NFL teams, I said, look, give me the tiers, okay? And a number of NFL teams said, look, the first tier here is 2 players. Yeah. It's Nick Bosa, it's Quentin Williams. When you have those 2 guys in the top 2 tier, to me, I'm like, why is Allen not in that tier? And here's what I heard. Number 1, he's a little leggy, okay? He's got long legs, he's a little bit of a strider, doesn't change direction super quick. Not quite as powerful, and I thought the one thing that I really heard that was interesting about Josh Allen, I had a guy who went really deep, broke down Bradley Chubb last year. Really, that was the guy they were looking at. He said, I did the same with Josh Allen this year. He said, I think in terms of power, overall pass rush ability, just impact, Chubb exponentially better player. Wow. He said, that's why I would put Quentin Williams ahead of him in this draft.
Your eyes tell you that, too.
I think I understand the pick. I mocked him to the Jets here because cover the Jets for a while. They always need a pass rusher every year. So I get it. It makes sense. Plus, they also lost out on Anthony Barr, who went back to the Vikings, right? But to me, I'm with you on Quentin versus Allen. Like, if Quentin's there, that's the guy I would take. I at least think if you've got a big guy in the middle who can get a quarterback off his spot, force him to go left or right, that helps your edge guys immediately.
Middle pressure.
Do you need to think edge rusher here? No. You can go best player available. In my mind, that's Quentin. But I could totally see the Jets taking Allen.
What did Greg Williams say about the C gap on Hard Knocks? I don't think we can actually say what he said.
I don't think we can say much of what Greg Williams said.
No.
Edit that out, please. Thank you.
It's a family internet show.
Yeah, exactly. But he's a local kid, though. I mean, it would be a good story if he can fight. What's it been since Calvin Pay or John Abraham? It's been since they've had an edge guy. So local kid, 10 miles away from MetLife, that'd be great.
Productive player, too.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about this. Jajuan Taylor, the tackle out of Florida, he said about Josh Allen, he said, this is the best rusher I faced last year.
Yes, you're seeing some dudes. But that's Josh Allen, as an edge guy, led the team in tackles for Kentucky. And that was a defense-first team. That defense carried them to 10 wins. So a productive guy and a leader on that team. Yeah.
Special production versus special talent. I think it's up in the air with him.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get to that soon. I'm sure we will. But with the 4th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL Mock Draft, our experts have selected for the Oakland Raiders, Quentin Williams, defensive tackle, Alabama. Eric, you listed Williams as your number 1 overall player. In fact, all of you guys felt that he was very high in this draft. So is he a steal at 4?
Absolutely. And, I would think it would be a great feeling for Mike Mayock, who spent years evaluating the draft from a media standpoint, now in the front office with John Gruden, to have it fall in his lap this way. You almost can't screw this pick up if it goes the way we have it here. Think about where Quentin Williams was a year before. Bit player in the Alabama system, loaded defensive line, couldn't get on the field hardly. Now he was the impact interior guy in college football. So guys, this is a no-brainer to me. I know they have depth in there, but this is too good.
I am telling you, if this happens, if he goes 4, this is Bradley Chubb falling to the Broncos at 5 last year.
Yeah,
I really do. I think it's a unique talent. And for the Raiders to be able to just sit there and watch that guy come to them is just like the Broncos last year. We're like, this guy's going to come to us. We're going to land this guy. Yeah. I think absolutely that's the case if he goes to 4.
I feel like this desk should have Alabama pom-poms and we should be screaming Roll Tide. We're the Quentin Williams fan club here. Lil Wayne is his agent, Young Money Agency. Are we all going to get free concert tickets? Up in the show? Everybody loves Quentin Williams. And there's a great reason to. I talked to Barry Odom, the Missouri coach, this week, and he said he was one of the rare interior linemen he's faced that you actually have to game plan around. around. And he said this season he took over game after game after game at a position where it's very difficult to do that from. So roll Tide and wave it. Quentin Williams to the Raiders. Love the pick.
And he did it against really good teams. He destroyed LSU. He was really hard on Georgia in the SEC championship game. Great handwork, which you don't always see from college guys. Great footwork. He's got the whole package.
And let's also take a moment to appreciate the fact that the Raiders need this. Like, they need an impact pass rusher. They need that guy. Quentin Williams is an outstanding pass rusher. He's good against the run, too. But with his movement ability and advanced hand usage, as a football player, this guy is the perfect fit, the perfect pick as far as fit and talent. It's a great pick for the Raiders.
If Quentin Williams becomes 85% of the player, 90% of the player of Aaron Donald, does that make up for the Khalil Mack debacle? In my
Ooh, that's a good question. 'Cause that's a pretty big debacle.
That's a debacle. I'm just throwing it out there.
Just stop.
Okay.
Nothing makes up for the Khalil Mack trade. Okay.
It was an unforced error. It was.
Here I am trying to be diplomatic, and you guys just stomp on me.
This is Marcel Darius minus the baggage. It's a win for the Raiders.
Yep.
Okay, guys, that's the sound. So with the 5th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for Tampa Bay, Devin White, linebacker, LSU. Oh, okay. I got some reaction to that one. Pat, you actually mocked White the lowest of the group at 13. So is this too high for him?
I think it's a little high. I think that's a bit of a reach, Michelle. Look, I really like him as a player. 256 tackles in 2 years, sideline to sideline runner, ran a 4.4. He was the fastest linebacker at the combine. I think he can play every down. But is he the 5th pick in the draft? Is that what we're calling him here? Number 5?
Inside linebacker.
The inside linebacker. Right. And he's 6 foot, maybe 238, maybe. Can he get swallowed by blockers inside?
Yeah.
I'm not high on him as the 5th pick.
And look, you don't take an inside linebacker this high unless it's Patrick Willis. Okay, and this guy's not Patrick Willis. He doesn't process things as fast as Patrick does. He's a great athlete, like you said, sideline to sideline guy. But one other thing, he's not like a striker at linebacker. If I'm taking a linebacker at 5, I want him to punish people. It's not a whole. He's a bit of a drag down. He'll grab you and fall to the ground. But good football player, sideline to side. But
one thing I don't understand,
not crazy about it.
Trez, to follow this up, the Bucs have a lot of things that they could issues they could
especially
address.
On the defensive line.
So, so why this pick here?
There's some really good players here. Ed Oliver's here. There's some dynamite linemen, which they need.
In
Devin
addition to
White's
other
totally
things.
fine.
Perez is losing his mind.
Yeah, I am, because I'm going to protest
Would you
football
take
insanity.
Would you take Devin Busch over Devin White?
I think the problem is there's another Devin at the same position in this draft that's a better football player.
Okay, and here's something interesting about Devin Busch versus Devin White. I had a guy who did cross-checks on linebackers, an AFC evaluator, and he said, look, man, for those two guys, I would put Busch ahead of Devin White. He said the only reason I would ever take Devin White over Devin Busch is if I want the inside linebacker who's going backwards into coverage. Is he flipping his hips? Is he running out to cover guys? Okay, then maybe I would take him. He said, but I think Devin Busch was built for it. That's the inside linebacker I'd be taking.
One thing I will say about White, he does play his tail off. I appreciate that. Like, it's not like
Don't
there's
try
some
to make him
stuff
feel
here.
better now. You crushed it.
I'm gonna be honest.
Beat him down, now you got to build
I'm
him
gonna be
up.
honest. He does play really hard. He loves the game of football. There's a chance he's a really good player.
He plays linebacker like a running back. That's what he played in high school. He was this big running
a
back.
really
He was
good way to put
rolling
it.
ball and knives. I heard Vic Fangio at the Combine, though, basically say that none of these guys are as good as Roquan Smith, who we drafted last year.
I believe that.
He went, 8th or whatever? So
Can I just say I love that you guys are killing the Bucs for a pick that they didn't actually.
Isn't that the
They're
point?
definitely not going to make it now.
What are you doing here?
You know what? Free killing him just in case.
Just in case.
This is called accurate preparation. All right? That's all. Accurate preparation.
Okay. Are we good? We're good on the Bucs?
We're good.
Yeah, we're
All right,
done.
let's get to the 6th pick. Okay, with the 6th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Giants, Rashawn Gary, defensive end, Michigan.
That's high.
Kimberly, the Giants have passed on another chance to draft a quarterback. Is this a smart move?
I like it.
Okay.
I actually like ignoring quarterback at 6.
Okay.
I just think the field, like I figured the Giants would take a D lineman or an offensive lineman at this pick. I like Gary. I think for him it's more power strength versus like Bosa's speed, right? And quickness. I think the question with Gary though is the fact that you question whether it's a motor thing, a being focused thing, like because the production does not match the physical talent. I mean, he's athletic, he's freakishly strong. I mean, so you wonder, like, how come we're not seeing the type of production? Now, he did play multiple positions, 5 and 3 at Michigan, so he had to do a little bit more than, let's say, Nick Bosa. You know exactly what he's doing. But I like it. I think he's a smart guy. I could see it.
Kimberly, look at it. You know the Giants fans. You know New York people, right? You know the off season that Dave Gettleman has had, right? How are they going to take this pick if it's Rashawn Gary, who's sort of been branded as like the bust, you know what I mean, or the guy who's unfulfilled potential?
You know, I understand why you think, okay, this team passed on all the quarterbacks last year, so clearly there's pressure. I think Gettleman will feel pressure to take a quarterback in this draft. Now, is that the smartest thing, though? You've already said Eli's our guy, right? 2019, it's all about Eli. So take a quarterback. You might as well just take a really good elite player that you think can help your team.
At least they're sticking by their word then, if Eli's their guy for the next season, I guess. Pat, you actually had this guy at 29th.
I guess I'm the
Yeah, you are just like, he is brutal with these players. Okay, so are you surprised to see him at 6th?
Yeah, I mean, I would not go 6 with Rashawn Gary. Very gifted guy. Ran a 4.58 for when you're 285. That's impressive. But, you know, he may look like Aaron Donald. He doesn't play like Aaron Donald. He hasn't so far, at least. I mean, not much production. 10.5 career sacks. That's one season for a lot of people. That's 3 years for him. Started his own agency. Declared himself the best player in the draft.
Why are we knocking him for the agency?
It's a little weird.
Okay.
All right?
Well,
it
I
may
think
work.
he's going to fall in this draft, and I think that's something that NFL teams are going to use against him.
Yep.
Oh,
and
yeah.
look, he just didn't make a lot of tackles. If you're a defensive player, you have to tackle people with the ball. He didn't do it. Sorry, I don't like this pick. I don't like Rashawn Gary. He was not productive, and he was unreliable. No, thank you.
So with that, we'll move on to the 7th pick then. That sounds good. Okay. With the 7th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Jaguars Jajuan Taylor, offensive tackle, Florida. Charles, once again, this was almost unanimous by all of you guys. So why is he such a great fit for the Jaguars?
Can I back out of this one? Okay, look. Now, we filed these mocks a little early, okay? I think I mocked them at 7. I did.
Did you?
Now, the only reason I would question this now is because, you know, when I had a chance to call guys and I said, look, what are you seeing on the tape? What about Jacksonville at 7? Does that make sense? I heard he is a run power offensive tackle. He's a right tackle. He's going to be run power right offensive tackle. And essentially what guys were saying to me was, are you sure that's what Jacksonville is now?
Right.
Because they got an offensive coordinator who really didn't like to run the football at his last stop.
Yeah.
They got a quarterback now in Nick Foles, who's not exactly the run power type quarterback. He's not coming from that kind of an offense. So it's like, look, if you run and run power, absolutely I could see you taking this kid. But 1 year of elite production had a lot to do with conditioning, weight loss. Like, you want a bigger sample size for him, but I just think, look, Jacksonville, if that's what you still are with Leonard Fournette, if you're a run power team, okay, then he works at 7.
And you can make a case that they are. I mean, it's Tom Coughlin in charge.
Yeah, sure.
Like, we know what he's about.
Right.
Like, we know what they're trying to build here.
I'll tell you what, I talked to people around the SEC, and they thought that Taylor going here, I mean, you're talking about a right tackle who you're not, if you take a lineman in the top 10 of the draft, you want to slot him in there and say he's going to start and
Right
star
away,
from
right.
day one.
Right.
This guy's no chance to play left tackle, so he's a right tackle who is only maybe as a starter. I think this is indicative of this is a terrible tackle draft, and it's really college football is not producing offensive linemen at the rate it used to because the game changed so much, and this is indicative of that. Jajuan Taylor is a good player, but he's not a special player, and I don't think he's a top 10 pick, and I don't think he ends up justifying this pick. When you talk to people who played against him, he was dogged by offsides penalties, which is something that can carry up. His hips are stiff. He has low hands. They thought he needed another year of development. Here he is now, a top 10 pick. Good for him for making a great business decision to come out, but don't expect a transcendent lineman here as pick number 7.
Not even the best offensive tackle in the SEC. That's Jonah Williams, in my opinion.
At one point, we actually had the Jaguars in the quarterback market. So, Terez, now that they have Nick Foles, is that even an option anymore, or are they still looking?
I think they better make sure that they get Nick Foles as much help as possible.
So, Nick,
look, if I'm making the pick, I take Hawkinson. I think Hawkinson is outstanding.
Look, Nick Foles is like, you gonna take another quarterback? Can he block for me? Okay.
Can you give me a safety valve, please?
Yep.
Okay. All right. With the 8th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Lions Montez Sweat, defensive end, Mississippi State. So, Sweat's a player that you guys were torn on here. You mocked him actually anywhere from 4-16. So, Therese, going to you a lot today. Is he a steal
fine.
at 8?
Listen, you can't really call him a steal because he's a guy that in the combine leading up to it diagnosed pre-existing heart conditions. So there's going to be some variance about where teams slot this guy and where they think the value is going to be. But if you believe in him, you think he's going to be fine, the tape doesn't really lie, okay? He's 6'6", he's 260, he runs a 4.41. Guys, the 4.41 was better than 22 of the 23 running backs at the combine. I'm dead. That's a big man to run that. Yeah. And then you watch the tape, he actually lives up to it. He ate Dalton Risner's lunch. Risner, by the way, a really good player you see right there. If you believe in the health and the medical, he's going to be a really good combination here with Trey Flowers, who the Lions just signed. One more thing, Lions are going to run a lot of stunts this year. This guy's so athletic, he can really cause havoc on it. This guy, if they believe in the medical, this guy's got a chance to be a really good fit here for a team whose pass rush has stunk for years.
Combine freaks always scare me when they're not productive.
Exactly.
But he was productive. He was a JUCO. He came to Mississippi State for 2 years, played under 2 very different defensive coaching staffs, had double-digit TFLs both years, 8.5 sacks last year. He played in a 3-4. He played in a 4-3. I think that eases adjustment to the NFL. I see him as a very safe pick here because of the production. But certainly you got to get excited when you see that 4.41.
Safe, but the heart thing too. I mean, that really scares me. We don't know the medical evaluations. We don't know how serious this is. Can he have a long career? I don't know. Those are big words for me.
I agree. Kimberly, I'm interested in your reaction since the.
I don't love it.
You're the hater now.
I don't love it. Because talking to people, they have even said to me, like, he kind of seems a little one-dimensional. And I'm surprised. What surprised me, though, was after the combine, it was just like everybody's talking about Montez Sweat. And so to me, the Spring Olympics, let's say, like, okay, after the combine, when guys are moving up boards, to me, it's sort of like, okay, where was he before? Why was he not this high on boards prior?
I'll leave you with this on Montez Sweat.
Talk to me.
From the entire canvas of talking to a lot of different people, I think this is one of the 3 guys in the first round, along with Greeni Williams from LSU and Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State, where a number of NFL teams have no clue where these guys are going, and they're very much looking forward to it.
Metcalf too. Yep.
Well, let me just say, this is a plausible spot for Hawkinson.
Yeah.
All day.
He could go to the Jags. He could go to the Lions. If he goes to the Lions, that's 60-plus receptions, and he's probably a top 8, top 10 tight end.
Easy.
Okay.
5 defensive linemen, 8 picks.
I would love it.
On a roll.
Bringing sexy back.
Okay, bringing sexy back. And with the 9th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL Mock Draft, our experts have selected for the Bills, Ed Oliver, defensive tackle, Houston. So, Eric, Bills go D-line instead of a weapon for Josh Allen. Is that the right call?
I could see it either way. I could see them giving Allen some health the whole offseason. They signed 6 offensive linemen. They've signed about 4 wide receivers, a lot of small guys. I could see them adding some size to that position. But to me, I think about Brandon being the GM. I think about Sean McDermott, the head coach. Look how they built it in Carolina, right? Inside out. You get those tackles to help protect the inside linebacker. They just drafted Terrell Edmonds last year. Now you have a chess piece in Ed Oliver who could be their K1 short, who could be that 3 technique. And he played out of position in college to me. He's not a nose tackle.
It was ridiculous.
80% of the time, Therese, this guy was lined up, getting double teamed, swallowed up whole. Give him space to operate.
I didn't see him get swallowed up a whole lot.
Well,
I saw him parting the Red Sea.
On double team.
Yeah.
I had T.J. Hawkinson going here, but the only reason is that I had Oliver going higher than this. You watch the tape. This guy destroys people. Quick off the snap, knows how to get to the quarterback. You watch him and he's like, okay, top 10 pick all day. At the end of the day, I love Hawkinson as a player though. That's why I had him here. But Oliver, you can slide him in. He's a 3 tech all day. I don't know why, like you said, no idea why he's a 0 guy. Getting doubled on it. It was ridiculous. You put him shaded against the guard, double-digit sacks. He wrecks havoc. This guy's a great football player.
Well, when he's on, he's on. But even that comment scares me though, because I feel like he's got great gifts, but I don't think it's consistent enough personally.
Tell you this now, right? If he goes to Buffalo, it's cold in Buffalo, right?
Yep.
Does he get to wear the puffy coat?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's the most important
Well
question.
done.
I spent a lot of time around Ed Oliver in his college career at Houston, and he has one of the highest motors, especially the Herman coach era, people said they ever saw. He was so dominant that opposing teams would line up on the practice squad, other teams in the backfield to replicate him because they couldn't do it. He is just freaky in his get off, freaky in his bend, freaky in different things. I think the Bills will have to be creative with him though, because he can play inside. I don't think he has no ability to play inside. I think he's going to play inside a little bit in the NFL. He can play out, but he's also fast enough to play a little bit of linebacker. I think you have an interesting Swiss Army knife here. You need a creative guy to do stuff with. You can't put Ed Oliver in a box.
I heard the question a couple of times from NFL evaluators, and I think it's telling. Do you think 9 is at Oliver's basement at Buffalo? And I feel like that's them indicating we believe 9 is the basement.
100%.
So.
Wow.
All right. Okay, so with the 10th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Broncos Drew Locke, quarterback, Missouri.
Interesting.
Okay. Pete, this is the second quarterback off the board. Is he the right one?
I liked Drew Locke a lot in college. I became a big fan of him in the draft process. Barry Odom said it to me today. He said, Drew Locke is living on fire right now. No player helped himself more in the pre-draft process, I think, than Locke. Remember, he was sort of clustered with that middle tier of quarterbacks. Here's the thing. Daniel Jones is a mannequin. He's very difficult to talk to. He doesn't have much personality. Drew Locke has some swag to him. Former AAU basketball star. He had offers to play hoops at Oklahoma, at Wichita State. He's going to be a great huddle guy, a great locker room guy, great face of the franchise guy. Those are all things that I think are really important here. And here's the thing I like about him compared to some of the other quarterbacks here like Murray and Haskins. He struggled, all right? He had 3 different offensive coordinators in his 4 years. He's been benched. He's had to go through struggles. He's had different systems. He's probably seen more NFL-type stuff than you're going to see. Because look, it's not a picnic. It's not all rainbows and lollipops once you get to the league. And I feel like Drew Locke is ready for that. As Barry said to me today, nothing's going to rattle him.
I'm mad you called him a mannequin. I mean, that's just messed up, dude.
Pete, I'll co-sign on that. I think Locke, maybe more than any other quarterback in this draft, like really gets the importance of like looking the part and being the face of the franchise. You know, he's dealt with a lot of media stuff over the last few months, like all these guys. I've been close to him during he handles some of these horrible questions, requests, because he gets it. Like, he kind of gets that part. You knew teams were going to fall in love with Locke the person. If he goes 10, I wouldn't be surprised.
Interesting thing about Locke, he showed up to a number of his interviews with teams wearing a suit. You know, he's wearing a suit. He's treating it like it's a business. And late in the process, the Packers, you know, said, we're going to try and bring this kid in. They didn't think they were going to get him. They thought it was too late in the process. He's not going to visit. Locke said, put me on a plane. I want to go. Absolutely. I want to be part of it.
You mentioned him. Oh.
Everything you guys say is right about, look, he's been a big deal since he was in high school. So he's used to being a big deal. And as you pointed out, used to going through some struggles too. So I think a lot of the intangibles there, one very good tangible too. Guy's got a gun. And Elway likes
matters.
Yeah. You have to wonder if John Elway maybe got it right with this one. You never know.
Better.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, he better, right? Yep.
Better development.
With the 11th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Bengals Devin Busch,
All right.
linebacker, Michigan. Charles, you nailed this mock right here. So is this the move that replaces Vontae's Burfict?
I think this is an amazing pick. I really do. I love Devin Bush as a pick. I think a lot of NFL teams love Devin Bush. We talked about him a little bit when we talked about Devin White. This is the guy where Devin White's flipping his hips and going backwards. Devin Bush is sticking his head down and going forward. I mean, he's the thumper. He's the run game guy. I think a lot of NFL teams really like him. I had one guy who told me a great story, and I think he got this from the Michigan staff. When they're getting their tails whipped against Ohio State last year, the defense comes off the field, and Don Brown, the defensive coordinator, is headed over to chew on the defense. And Devin Bush steps up and says, stop, I got this. And he goes and just absolutely eviscerates all the defensive players. He said, this guy is a dog, he's a leader, he's a downhill guy, and he is extremely serious about football. That is who I want as my inside linebacker. I think that's why Devin Bush is a guy that I think the Bengals would be thrilled to have at 11.
Dog with a W.
Yes.
Dog.
He certainly, he fills the Vontae's perfect role for multiple reasons. I mean, he's a thumper. Also, maybe a little borderline chippy. I mean, the guy, he pushed it to the end.
He cranks it to 100.
Yeah. Now, can he play every down? He did not cover well. Ohio State, they undressed him.
Yep.
But Therese actually had, sorry there,
Yeah,
buddy.
go ahead.
Therese, you had Dwayne Haskins here, so just to piggyback off of that,
fine.
is it time to,
yeah.
replace Andy Dalton?
I'll be the only one on Haskins Island. That's fine. I watched that Michigan-Ohio State game. One thing about Busch, I love the player. I think he's fantastic. Didn't do a lot of zone coverage because Michigan doesn't really believe in it.
Right.
Kind of have to be able to do it in the NFL, but whatever.
And teams think he can be a good zone coverage.
Yeah, because he's got and he loves football. He's all about it. So, I like the pick in a vacuum, but to me, you just hired Zach Taylor, right? Zach Taylor's 35 years old. They hired him because he knows Sean McVay, just like all these other teams have done. And Sean McVay is famous for turning Jared Goff, a young quarterback, into a good one. Now, we know Andy Dalton's 32 years old, okay? We know what he is. There's no more upside here, but you just got you're in a position to now draft your replacement for him with more upside and let him grow with your new coach, just like the Rams did with Jared Goff. So to me, if you're in that position, by the way, selling jerseys matters. That guy played at Ohio State. So to me, it just makes a lot of sense. Take Haskins, let those two grow together, see what happens.
My comp for Haskins is Goff. I can see they have similar type of skills.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay. With the 12th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Packers T.J. Hawkinson, tight end, Iowa.
Teresa's guy.
All right.
I like good football players. I own it.
All right, Kimberly.
I own that all
You'll
day.
have that, yeah.
Can Hawkinson help replace Jimmy Graham?
He's the best tight end in this class.
Yep.
So is it a steal? I don't know if it's a steal because it seems a little late for him to get picked, but that's an easy replacement. I mean, the kid is so good. So good. I don't know. I'm not surprised that he'd be the first one off the board.
I like that when I had a chance to talk to a team about him, they said, you know what? If I want him on a defensive end, he's not afraid to take that on.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing about a tight end. We all talk about Gronk, right? Oh, we love this about Gronk. But you and I have talked, Therese, you and I have talked forever about blocking. If you can get a complete tight end,
It's so hard. Because none of them block.
He can catch. He's got the soft hand. I love it.
And Charles, you know me. I'm 35. I'm an old man, though. Like I'm the guy talking about this.
Humble brag.
Like, I'm like,
I'm
when's
35.
the last? I'm like, when's the last? Oh, that's right. Yeah. When's the last guy? I'm gonna say these guys don't block. He actually blocks. Yeah. And he's not just that. He's also a really good athlete. The only tight end better in this class, athletically, testing-wise, is Noah Fant, his teammate. So he's got that. And then you turn on the tape. He's making catches. The Iowa staff loves him. Total package, safe pick. He goes to Green Bay here. Not just Pro Bowl. There's all pro potential as long as he's a Packer. I'll say it. I'll own that.
Yeah. Andy, I miss you over there. So what kind of fantasy production can we expect from TJ?
Yeah, I think I actually mocked him to the Packers only because I was wish casting, right? I think this probably goes somewhere in this draft minefield between 7 and 9, right? They're all kind of tight end needy teams. But man, pairing him with Aaron Rodgers, not necessarily for next year, but for like the next 5, it is just a dream. Because I agree, he's a Pro Bowl level talent. He has everything, right? He's a blocker. The guy's a great route runner, great hands. He's just going to be an every snap guy for a long time. I think this is a great pick. I think fantasy-wise, maybe first season, he's not coming into a ton of targets. It's probably 40 to 50 receptions. It's maybe 500 yards, 4 or 5 TDs. But long term, he's great. I think he's probably the tight end 11 or 12.
New coaching staff as well. You have to wonder how that plays into this whole picture. Some of these new players, right?
Yep.
yeah, I don't think. Look, give Aaron Rodgers a tight end, okay? And if you can do anything, you're fine. Like it's not. We're overthinking this right now. Like,
he'll be fine. Yeah. Okay, so with the 13th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Dolphins Jonah Williams, offensive tackle, Alabama.
Sure.
Okay,
Let's rebuild.
Yeah.
There were a lot of different players mocked here. We had a lot of different guys in this spot. So, Eric, does a different one make sense, or does this one make sense?
Yeah, this is exactly what Pete was just talking about. This is a way to sort of not project that you're actually taking, right? We're going to take the big, solid college player from the college football factory here. But Jonah Williams is a really good football player. Here's a fact. The Miami Dolphins did not draft an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman last year. That is going to change this year. I wouldn't be shocked if they took 2 of each this season. Jonah Williams, the beautiful thing about him is that with Laramie Tunsil, you don't have to play him at left tackle right away.
Right.
He can play right tackle. He can play either guard spot. Heck, if you want to teach him center, I bet he'd do a darn good job of it. How many freshmen roll on into Tuscaloosa and start from day one as a true freshman? True freshman, not a redshirt guy, with all the 5-star talent they have there. That tells me that he's got a super high ceiling. He's about as safe a pick as it gets in this draft.
Eric, one thing you mentioned to him while we were talking about, you mentioned the mentality, which really stood out to me. What was that?
Well, basically, he'd been kind of whispered, maybe he's a little soft. He's more of a, scholarly type a little bit, When I asked him kind of the question about his reputation a little bit, like, hey, you're sort of known as the technician, the finesse guy, he gave me a look. It was staring right through my skull. I just got pancake blocked at the combine. Look, I think he does have a little of an edge, even if he doesn't play through the whistle and get those sort of Drew Samia penalties and things like that. So
Dolphins took Minka in the first round last year. Their general manager, Chris Greer, was a scout on the staff when Saban was the coach. There's very strong ties between Alabama and the Dolphins. And Brian Flores obviously comes from the Belichick tree, and we all know the Belichick tree loves Nick Saban.
We did mention a lot of different players were mocked here, though. So, Charles, could Miami look for a quarterback here?
I mean, if Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be on the all-birthday cake team with me, I mean, like seriously, what happened? Like, he blew up. Look, listen, I don't think, look, if that guy's on there running, I'm like, that looks like me in a shirt running right now. Like, that is not a good look. Look, I don't think so, and only because, look, I know when Brian Flores took this job, it was all about rebuilding. I think they're looking at quarterback next year. That's part of why Fitzpatrick was brought in this year. Foundational pick here. I think they want to look at the lines first and rebuild internally, from the inside out before they get to quarterback.
They've had so much bad quarterback play
I know,
in
it's
Miami.
unbelievable. I know.
And if they can hold on another year, the quarterback class is looking pretty good coming in, right? Yeah, Pete, you like that? A shout out for your college shout out right there.
There we are. You're studying up for 2020.
Studying up for 2020. All right, with the 14th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Falcons Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle, Clemson, and they love it. So the Falcons are filling an obvious need here. Terez, do you like this pick?
I love it. I think he's one of the safest picks in the draft. You turn on the tape of Christian Wilkins, the first thing you're gonna notice that this guy plays his tail off every single play. He is on 100. Advanced hand usage, gets off the ball well. I think he's an upfield guy though. I think he's a 3 tech. I think you gotta let him attack someone's shoulder, but as a football player, he finds the ball quickly. Like, look at this, he's there. And he's on you and he's excited about it too.
Yeah.
You know what this guy's gonna give you. We know that the Falcons, they're coached by Dan Quinn, who's a defensive guy. There's a little pressure on him to win this year, but if he's going down, he's going to go down with what he knows, which is defense. They can fortify this defensive line with a plug-and-play guy. The only negative on him is that he's a little old. He's about to turn 24. So he kind of is what he is, but what he is a plug-and-play starter who immediately is going to give you quality snaps and be productive.
I think he will be able to run for Atlanta mayor in about 6 years, too. Like an ambassador for that program.
Great personality.
Yeah.
I mean,
Great
he's
guy.
one of those guys, that very infectious, enthusiastic. I think he will eventually be a very good leader in that team, too.
Pete, you were nodding your head there. He's the first Clemson defensive lineman off the board, so you think he's the right one?
I do think he's the right one. I love Christian Wilkins. I'm with Terez. I think this is a great pick. Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator at Clemson, calls him a dancing bear, which is a great term. Yeah. He can do the splits, and he can do a backflip. He also has positional flexibility, played both inside and out at Clemson. And to piggyback on what Eric said, Venables said, he makes your locker room better from day one. He has that outgoing personality. He's going to be the face of your organization. He's a face in the community, and he gave a great quote. He's deeply in love with the grind.
Oh, boy. Oh. Wow. That's not
just like Charles. Charles is in love with the grind.
Well, Atlanta is paying more attention to the high-character guys. We saw it in last year's draft. It could fit right in with this. Yep.
Did you say he could do a backflip?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's so passé, though, now.
Hopefully
for
not during the regular season.
Right? You're over the fact that
I was more impressed by the splits, which he did immediately after they won the national championship.
He did?
Yes.
All right. A man of many skills, apparently. All right, so with the 15th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Redskins, Dwayne Haskins, quarterback, Ohio State. All right, we're getting some yep, and that's because, Charles, you're the only one that mocked him here. So do you like this fit? Or why, I guess, do you like this pick? Because you mocked him there.
At the time, again, this is another one where I'm like, okay, look, I'm going to tell you what I heard since this mock, okay? And if you don't have a quarterback in Washington, then yeah, I still think this is a guy that you can take in this slot. But here's why I'm now troubled by this pick. When you've heard all this criticism about Haskins now, is he falling? What's going on? There's, on the field stuff like in terms of his athleticism. So one guy said, look, I did a deep dive on Josh Rosen last year, and he said, I think he is Josh Rosen without as sweet a passing stroke and less experience. Obviously, the 1 year of experience. But then he said, look, there are certain things about Dwayne Haskins. He wears the John Elway jersey to the visit with the Broncos. He's having a draft party where there's like 300 people coming and a red carpet event. And I kind of said, well, who cares about that stuff? He said, well, look, I want him to look at this as a step, not as an arrival. And that is something that, look, especially with quarterbacks, you really want someone seeing this as just the next point in his process. I think some teams look at him and say, where is he now? How much development is left in front of him? And the one thing that scared me is one guy said, I think he's a little robotic.
Right.
I think he knows A, B, C, and then can he create after that? We don't know. Can you take a guy at 15?
I understand the Redskins need a quarterback with Colt McCoy and Keenum. I get it, and Alex Smith, geez. But the thing to me is this kid needs to sit. And I think if you're going to take a rookie quarterback, you need to be able to live with the growing pains. I don't know if Jay Gruden can really live with growing pains right now, being that this is year 6, I think, for him. Yeah. So he doesn't have time to wait and sort of figure out, is this going to be the guy? So I'm not loving Haskins here.
That was my question. How long does he sit? I mean, they don't have that kind of affordability.
That 1 year, it was good.
Yeah.
But it was 1 year. I don't think he's ready.
Too, don't forget, he's a Maryland.
Right.
He's a Maryland native, and that's where he went to high school.
That's where draft party will be. Yeah.
Yes, that is where his draft party will be.
All those stories are nice. But
They liked Dwayne Haskins a lot at Ohio State. He won a lot of games. His reputation was that he was a little bit of an introvert. He kept to himself. He wasn't an alpha. He didn't have that commanding presence, and it was a big Instagram guy. He liked himself on social media. He liked himself on video a lot, and he wasn't the JT Barrett type leader that they'd been used to having in that program. And Urban Meyer told me this week that there was a turning point for him when he was there at Ohio State. He told him to start following Kobe Bryant and Kobe Bryant's leadership type stuff. And they really felt like that mid-season last year, developing the Mamba mentality, if you will, really helped Dwayne Haskins turn the corner. But in terms of leadership growth and just age, he's not that old. He hasn't played that many games. There's a lot of unknown here. I think Dwayne Haskins, there's a polarizing. There's a boomer bust feel.
Too many people knocking a really good pure passer here. I like Dwayne Haskins.
I'm actually with you, Pat.
Led the nation in open receivers. A little scary.
You know
you
what?
can hit open receivers.
Michigan had the best pass defense in the country till he destroyed it.
Look at the windows.
Penn State in a whiteout when they're going to lose the game. He makes the plays for them to win the game.
Look at the windows. Look at the tape in the windows.
He did throw on the big passing windows, but he also had to make progressions.
Yeah.
There's some question about the second reaction ability. Fine, but he's experienced. There's experience checking down and going from 1 to 2 to 3. He can do it.
There's faith in the NFL because Ryan Day is one of the great offensive minds in college football. B was an NFL quarterback coach for 2 years, so he can tell them they know what they're getting.
Yeah. And do you want Paris Campbell running a 4.7? Let him run fast. Come on.
Okay, guys.
It's okay.
I love the debate here, but that bell rang like 2 minutes ago, so let's move on. With the 16th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL Mock Draft, our experts have selected for the Panthers Brian Burns, defensive end,
Steal.
Florida State. You're saying steal.
Yeah.
Does Burns step in ready to replace Julius Peppers? Pete, what do you think?
Love this pick. Great player on a bad team, which really hurt him in this defensive end draft. He had 24 sacks in his career at Florida State, where he was at 3 and done. That's the 5th most in school history. There's been a few Knowles who've known how to sack the quarterback a little bit. Willie Taggart had a great line this week. He said, he's faster than a lot of our wide receivers. Yeah. Ran a 4.5. There's some position flexibility. 36-inch vertical, which means you can throw him alley-oops, too, if you need to. I really like everything that Brian Burns did. A great nugget Willie told me was he didn't miss a practice, spring and fall. There was a lot of reasons to skip practice at Florida State this year when that season went in the tank. And Willie said he was the highest of character guys, and he said he wished he had a team full of Brian Burns. I think he's going to be a great pro.
I talked to an NFC evaluator who said, you know what, I didn't see a ton of power on his tape in college. He said, but then he put on a lot of weight for the combine, and we all sat there and said, okay, now he's put on the weight to be powerful at the NFL level. how's this going to affect his athleticism?
Did you see him move?
It didn't. He was great. And they sat there at the combine. They said, he packed the weight on, didn't affect
20 more
athleticism.
pounds,
We're in.
Same 40 time.
You see that guy we mocked at number 7 over there, Jajuan Taylor? Yeah, Burns ate his lunch every single year they face each other, beat him with speed. If he just adds that weight and keeps going with the strength, he could be special, I think.
Yeah, no, he was, as Pete alluded to, like the only bright spot at Florida State.
Yeah.
And I think shows a good sign of a good attitude that he didn't pack it in, when the rest of that team clearly did.
Trez, the Panthers could use a little bit of help offensively. So do you still like this pick?
Yeah, I think you take Brian Burns when he's available. You look at him, he reminds me of a taller D Ford. So there's athleticism here. Here's another guy, plays really hard. I mean, he's enthusiastic when he makes plays. We know the Panthers are about winning up front. This is a good pick and fits a need. And you know that this guy's a football player. Like, he gets it. He likes the game. He's into it. I think this is a great pick.
Will he develop as inconsistently as Ford? It took Ford a couple years.
And that's the thing, because D Ford's kind of a light guy. I mean, he played some of last season at 233. Burns is 235. It means his playing weight's probably 225. But Ford put it together because he's got the combo moves with the first step quickness. Burns has some of that. And when guys play this hard and they love the game this much, they're going to be good football players unless injury strikes.
That combine workout, I still say it was one of the best fluid athletes we saw in the
All right, guys, we are halfway through the draft. And speaking of fitting a need potentially, with the 17th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Giants Daniel Jones, quarterback.
Wow.
Dude.
There we go.
Kimberly, this is all you. Do the Giants finally get their heir to Eli?
Gettleman finally gets these crazy media people off his back.
you think?
So I actually mocked him here. Eli's the guy, right? I think this kid is smart. I think he took a beating at Duke. I do think he needs time to develop. But it's the right situation because you already know you've got your starter and you could give him time to develop. The thing is, the O-line issues for the Giants scare me. And I don't think that's a great situation for a rookie quarterback.
Hey, look,
call me crazy.
Listen, Daniel
Call me
Jones
crazy.
is like, hey, man, I played at Duke, okay? Wasn't he some O-line?
This is an upgrade.
Ed Holm was actually his tight end at Duke.
Got 30 balls, baby.
Yeah, you would have for him this year because his receivers dropped a lot of passes at Duke.
They did.
His receivers
the
and
ones
his
that could get
O-line.
open.
Yeah, exactly. There's some issues with Jones, but, Gettleman has to take a somewhere.
Does he have
Maybe not
to?
this high,
Does he
but
have
somewhere.
Do you have to
Somewhere in
take
this
one
draft.
who isn't good enough to play? That's my question, my problem.
I said somewhere.
if
Maybe
he
not
had-
this guy not here.
If he had to take a quarterback, you had Haskins going here.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that he could fall to them in this position?
I would take Haskins over 7 days a week over Daniel Jones. I don't want to just completely trash Jones, but I mean,
Let me pull out my notes real quick.
But I'm backing up the
Let
garbage
me pull
truck.
my note cards out where I'm going to trash Daniel Jones.
He's got it written down. He's about to unleash.
All right. The thing is, look, you are counting on him being Manning cookie cutter, all right?
Yeah.
He's got the size of Peyton and Eli. He's 6'5", 220. He played for Cutcliffe. Right. He's a pro-style guy who stands there like a pro-style guy. Doesn't mean he's as good as those guys, all right? 6.8 yards per attempt last year, tied for 81st in the nation, all right? And while, yes, maybe they don't have the receivers that are going to stretch a defense, he doesn't have the arm to stretch a defense either. He is tough. He played through a broken clavicle. He sat out like one game and then came back. So you like that. You like the intangibles. Smart guy. But I'm not building a team around him. No way.
Kyler Murray is like bringing football forward to a new paradigm, and Dave Gettleman is hopping in his DeLorean and say, "We're going back. We're going back to old school. We want a
1988.
stiff, immobile guy who can't move."
Well, they have that, so
Learning from the best.
so what are we doing?
Okay, we're doing the 18th pick. So, with the 18th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Vikings Garrett Bradbury, offensive line.
Your boy,
Charles. There was a consensus lineman mocked here.
Wow.
You love him. Yeah. Is he the right one? I'm assuming in your mind, yes.
Look, listen, okay.
can't even speak. He's overcome.
It's like I'm his agent at this point. So. All right, look, for me, Garrett Bradbury, it really started at the Senior Bowl, okay? I had a couple of guys who I said, hey, can you watch the offensive lineman for me? Tell me what you think. Every single day, they're like the best guy from the group, Garrett Bradbury, every single day. Then I go through the process, I start making calls, and there are teams that can't even use him, that are like, we almost wish we could use him, that's how good he is. I had one team told me, look, if you need a zone blocker, okay, he's a superior athlete, and you need a zone blocker, he's a 10-year center. And so he said to me, look, imagine Ryan Khalil, Max Unger. Imagine just drafting a guy and going, we're set for 10 years. That is the kind of guy that for a zone blocking scheme, Garrett Bradbury can be. So, you know, to me, I think that's special. This is one of those guys, because he's an interior lineman, if he was a tackle, we'd be talking about as a top 5 pick. Yeah. You know, he'll put on a little more weight in the NFL. That's what they hope. He'll get stronger. But I think for the interior lineman, some guys don't like taking him at 18, but if it's a 10-year guy, disagree with me.
When they're this good, you do it.
And unlike Charles, I watch my own offensive lineman at the Senior Bowl. I don't ask somebody else. But no, it was clear in the one-on-one drill.
Why do it yourself when you can get someone else to do it for you? Okay?
Look, I'm a blue-collar tight end guy, right? What can I say? Speaking of tight ends, Garrett Bradbury was a 225-pound tight end in high school. Really? He was an athletic guy. He showed up there. They played tight end. They said, this tight end thing isn't for you. We're going to move to the offensive line. He picked it up quickly. Student of the game, all that cliche stuff. But really, he is. I think he takes it seriously. And you're right. Ryan Khalil is the name I've heard that he plays with enough nastiness to kind of make it worth this pick. This is a perfect Mike Zimmer offensive lineman in my mind.
One other thing, I think this actually makes their line better because they've got Pat Elflein, who's like a young guy too.
Yep.
Wasn't very good last year, but he was hurt. If you draft Bradbury, you can move Elflein to guard.
Yep.
Guard. He plays guard. Elflein was great at guard at Ohio State in 2015. So your line gets better in 2 places.
Yep.
Okay, some fired up crosstalk about offensive linemen here. So before we get too crazy, I'm going to move on to the 19th pick. And with the 19th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Titans Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle, Clemson. Okay, so, you know.
The biggest and the ugliest.
Yeah, he comes with a positive PED test. It forced him to miss the college football playoffs. What kind of player are the Titans getting here? Pete, what do you think?
If he could have gone out of the draft after his freshman year when he was the consensus best freshman defensive player in the country, he would have been a top 5 pick. Even talking to Brent Venables this week, he said he thinks on talent alone he should have been a top 3 pick still this year. But he had the PED test. He obviously had an injury, so his sophomore year he had a nerve injury. He really played at only 50%. Venables said he was about 85% last year. And the NFL has changed. That big 350-pound plugger isn't as valued as he used to because, as Trez said, it's a pitch and catch game now. Right. So is he as valuable on third down maybe as he used to be? He can move the pocket, but he's not a polished pass rusher from the inside like some other guys in this draft. But still, athletically, he's a unicorn. There's nothing else you can say about him. He is a bigger dancing bear. He's a dancing polar bear at this point.
Yeah, he weighs about as much as 1.2. You look at these head, he's 6'4". 342. Like, watch these highlights. I know the pass rush production, he's never going to beat Gerald McCoy. You don't need him to be that. You draft him, you're drafting a more athletic Ted Washington. Like, that's what you're hoping. And then you're hoping that on passing downs, he's pushing the pocket with his sheer size and power. I love him for the Titans. I think this is a guy who fits in what they want to do. They want to be bigger than you. They want to be stronger than you. They want to bully you up front. This is the biggest and strongest defensive lineman in the draft. You draft him here if you're comfortable with the PED test. He's a cultural fit and a really good football player.
I had one interesting story where a guy told me that when they had their combine meeting with him, it started with a couple of guys in the room talking to him, and then he was like, by the end of it, there were a lot of, like, everybody in the room had kind of like come in to listen. He was just like, he's a lot of fun to talk to. He's someone that we were like, hey, if we put this guy in our locker room, I think the locker room's going to kind of do that around him too. You just got to find the right spot.
Good. Go ahead.
No, you know, I mean, look, where did Vrabel cut his chops, all right, with New England, and what did Vince Wilfork do for New England? I mean, you know, he might be thinking
Washington too, even earlier.
GM John Robinson was there too at the same time. Yep.
Okay. With the 20th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Steelers DK Metcalf, wide receiver, Ole Miss. Pat, you mocked him at number 9, so is he a steal here?
I'm going to claim temporary insanity mocking him at number 9 because I don't know about that. That was coming off the Final Four. I wasn't necessarily locked in.
I was going to put that guy there.
No, I mean, look, this guy's the physical freak, all right? He's built even better than Pete Thamel. I mean, he's an absolute ripped monster. He's 6'3", 228, allegedly 1.9% body fat. I cannot believe that. I absolutely
Stop with that.
Urban myth.
I cannot believe
He's
that.
breathing. It's not 1.9% body fat, all right?
But
I mean, he's fast. I mean, 4.33. He's got NFL pedigree. His dad was an offensive lineman in the NFL. Problem is, he only played 21 college games. You know, I mean, he sat out a lot of 2 seasons. He has a total of 67 receptions, 1,200 yards, 14 TDs. A lot of guys have that in 1 year. That's the total body of work that he has. So there's a lot of unknowns with him.
Kimberly's making faces over here.
Yeah,
I want to see what's up.
Not a fan?
I'm not feeling this. I don't. There's a reason that most wide receivers don't look like this. I mean, size and speed don't necessarily correlate to NFL success as a wide receiver. I'm not buying. Yes, he is freakishly fast, but can he run all these routes? Can he be versatile in your offense? I'm not loving it.
You know, Kim, I share your opinion. I think those are really good concerns, but one reason I actually really like him in Pittsburgh, they don't need him to run all these routes. You get this guy the Ted Ginn route tree, and he's what? No, the one. Right? No, it's the post. It's the post. It's the comeback and the go. Well, guess what? The Steelers need a receiver to do those 3 things. They don't even need him to be the number 1 receiver, which he wasn't in college. In fact, there's another first-round receiver who was the better player at the same position, but the Steelers need a guy that's going to be able to take the top off of defense. You got Juju Smith-Schuster to be your number 1 guy. That's fine. You bring him here. This is about as good of a situation with a knowledgeable quarterback who's won a Super Bowl as Metcalf are fine.
If you give him 84, I'm in. Just like, if you give him Antonio Brown's jersey, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. That's worth the pick right there.
How savage would it be if they drafted Marquise Brown, who's Antonio Brown's cousin, right? Would that not be
Or even A.J. Brown and gave him 84.
Or give him 84.
That would be the best.
We're in the pot. Guys, I gotta get to Andy.
Yes.
Okay?
Hey, Andy.
Everybody's tired.
How's it going, Andy?
What's the fantasy impact of Metcalf in black and yellow? And can he come close to matching Antonio Brown's output?
Oh, hell no. No. This is not a 1-for-1 Antonio Brown replacement, obviously. These guys hit the points, right? Like, he stuck to one side in college, really limited route tree. It's a great real-life fit, though, if you think about what the Steelers like to do. Ben Roethlisberger took the 3rd most deep shots last year in all of the NFL, right? So that's what he can do. Ted Ginn was my comp for him as well. He's bigger. He's like Mega Ginn or something like that. A lot of speed.
Kudos, Andy.
Good combine, but not great in like the agility stuff, right? So he's just a go route guy. For fantasy, he's going to be like my wide receiver 70 or 75. I mean, you have to think of him like early years Ted Ginn. So it's like 35, 40 catches, 500-plus yards, maybe 3-4 TDs. Not a huge fantasy impact year 1.
You want just a go route guy at 20? I don't like it.
I'm with you.
Hey, Meg again, I'm all for
Oh, no,
that.
yes.
Meg again. Okay.
I could get behind that nickname.
I'm moving on to the 21st
Sorry.
pick team. Okay, with the 21st pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Seahawks, Greeny Williams, cornerback,
Okay.
LSU. You guys are saying okay? Therese, you mocked him right here, so is he perfect fit for Seattle?
Yeah, I mean, physically, you're going to look at these traits here, right? He's 6'3", yeah, he's long. There's a long history of lanky cornerbacks in Seattle, and they're about to show you this highlight of him tackling somebody. He's not. Yeah, that's fine. At cornerback, it's kind of okay because none of them really tackle. And one thing I'll tell you, especially at 21, you're going to be fine taking a guy who's this long, who has ball skills this good, whose athleticism is really above average. This guy's a good football player going to a good scheme fit. Now, he's got his issues, like I said, with the tackling, but as a football player, you know, you can get a guy in today's NFL that can actually cover somebody because Lord knows you can't touch him. Yeah, you'll take that number 21. No tackling at all, but, you know, to me, I think there's a really good comp on this, Charles. We were talking about that before. There's one guy in the NFL that he really compares to. Who is it?
Yeah, I had an AFC evaluator who I talked to, and you know, he put Greeny Williams along with a few other teams in that sort of Montez Sweat, Dwayne Haskins, where are they going to end up kind of group. But he said, look, to me, this is Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. This is a guy who he's going to have some Pro Bowls for you. Yep. He's going to have some seasons where he drives you absolutely insane. You're going to pay him at some point in the middle of his career. He might last 11 or 12 years, but he's going to play for 3 or 4 different teams. So
Right.
it's like it's kind of both ways.
that.
It's good and bad. Yeah.
I wonder if that evaluator read my draft profile, in which I compared him to DRC. Maybe. May have.
Do you work for an AFC team?
YahooSports.com.
Your hair too.
Exactly, right. I think that's a perfect comp for him, though. I think, he's a ball hawk. He obviously showed that his first year in school. Did he try to play a little safe? Did he skip the whole tackling thing against Georgia, against Texas A&M? Yes.
There was some business.
Self-preservation, business
There was
decision.
some business decisions.
Exactly.
That's an LSU trait.
That is an LSU trait. Yep. And that's why he's...
Let's play Georgia 11 on 10.
Yeah, right. He'd be going top 10 or 12 if he hadn't, sort of backed
Eric,
up.
you said that he was a good pick, but there were a couple of wide receivers mocked for Seattle, too. Yep. So could we see Seattle adding a weapon for Russell Wilson now that we know, hey, Russell Wilson's here to stay?
Doug Baldwin's health is a concern, right? They don't really have that go-to tight end or a back that you're going to throw to a lot. So absolutely, I could see Paris Campbell is somebody who has been connected to them. Imagine him just throwing quick slants and screens and stuff. That's the kind of guy they may look for.
But he can't catch.
Right? That's the hands. Well, Greeni can't tackle, Paris can't catch. So there you go. Right. Yeah.
The perfect team. There you go. All right. So with the 22nd pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Ravens Marquise Brown, wide receiver, Oklahoma. Kimberly. Smart to go wide receiver here over an edge rush at this point in the draft. And by edge rush, I mean edge rush. It's late.
Yeah.
And Oliver's an end.
No, I think that makes sense. I actually mocked him here. To me, he's Desean Jackson. Similar. Now, here's my only concern. He's small. I'm bigger than him, basically. I mean, what is he, 5'9", 166?
Can you catch slant passes, though? That's
I mean, you pay me enough. I can do anything. No, I mean, the kid has explosive speed, big playability. I just worry about his size and his durability. But, I mean, look at him. I mean, the kid can move.
I think when when Therese and I talked about this, what I liked about him was Lamar Jackson. If you're investing in Lamar Jackson, this is a guy that you can get the ball to him close to the line of scrimmage, and he can go all the way like a Desean Jackson, or he'll just peel the top off. So, I mean, you got short and long. I think that's exactly where you want to go when you're developing a quarterback, who you either want to get him out of his hand fast, or somebody who's just going to run by him and you want to throw it deep.
Baltimore's committing to the new NFL, right? This is a bubble, not per se bubble screens, but short, quick hits, and Hollywood can take him to Hollywood.
It's like an NBA offense, right? You got layups and three-pointers.
That's a great analogy. And that's what are Lamar Jackson's strengths right now. I mean, look, he's got a nice quick release. He can throw it deep. The intermediate throws have been a little bit more of a struggle for him, so you give him a guy that fits what he does well.
Brilliant.
Therese, you actually had mocked a wide receiver named Brown, but it was A.J. Brown. So did they draft the wrong guy?
Yeah, it was another one because, like Eric said, I think they should take the layup guy, and here's why. Lamar Jackson struggles with the intermediate, but he can't throw it short. And to me, A.J. Brown from Mississippi is going to immediately step in and be a guy he can throw the ball 100 times to. He's a slot receiver. He's Anquan Bolden to me. Like, he was a better player than DK Metcalf. He wins in the slot. He's too quick for linebackers and too big for defensive backs. Like, just to me, I think A.J. Brown's a guy, you know what he is. He's going to be a good slot player, somebody that can immediately be the number one option for Lamar Jackson. He's much bigger. 6 feet, 226.
I can't believe you guys did this to Hollywood. I like this player a lot, and this is just a brutal landing spot for fantasy. I mean, Lamar didn't attempt more than 25 passes in any game last season, okay? I mean, he's entering his second NFL season talking about becoming a more accurate passer. That's just not where you want to be. It's a rough spot.
Okay.
That's how you solve it. Come on, we're trying to solve it there.
He's also a small target too. So if you're worried about his accuracy,
that's a great
he's
point.
not going to expand your strike zone. AJ would, Hollywood wouldn't. You need an accurate quarterback with him.
All right, guys, moving on here. With the 23rd pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Texans Andre Dillard,
That's perfect.
offensive
I like it.
tackle,
Brilliant.
Washington State. Guys, this pick's got to be all about protecting Deshaun Watson no matter who's on the board. You're nodding your head in agreement. Eric, what do you think?
Perfect fit. This guy is the Barishnikov of left tackles. He is a dancer. He's got the lightest, prettiest feet. Gave up 1 sack last year. Gave up a sack in the Senior Bowl. Didn't actually have a great Senior Bowl game, but in the week of practice looked good as well. They ran how many pass sets there at Washington State? You know the numbers. There it is.
Yeah.
And look, being agile is perfect for this offense. They had Julian Davenport. They tried to sort of fit that in. Dillard is a huge upgrade over this. I love this pick.
How many
Plug and
times
play.
was Watson sacked last year? 60-something?
The most.
He just got
Exactly.
sacked right now.
As we're talking.
It's the off
63 now.
It makes
He's
sense.
still in the offseason.
Yeah.
He took a beating. He did.
Interesting trait with these offensive tackles. You look at Charles Robinson's cousin, Garrett Bradbury, and Dillard here. Both of those guys were not very hyped. One was a tight end.
right.
One was a tight end coming out of college. The smaller linemen who are good athletes who grow into bigger bodies end up being better prospects than the guys who are 5 stars who are 325 pounds rolling onto campus.
Yep.
Can I throw one caution flag on this here? All right. Maybe he didn't have a good Senior Bowl because he wasn't playing in the Pac-12.
Right.
Washington State, first of all, played in a bad conference, and secondly, played a weak non-conference schedule. So I'm just worried about the step up in competition.
And playing a 2-point stance every single
yeah,
play.
right.
I will say this, he has heat in this process though right now. I mean, this is one of those players that right now when I've talked to teams and they say, hey, look, if you're talking about Jajuan Taylor at 7, and that's a guy who's a power run guy, he said, well, this is a passing league now.
Right.
He said I've had guys tell me they think that this could be the guy at the top of their tackle board because he potentially starts at left tackle from day one.
Yep.
He's a finesse pass blocking guy. He saw 1 million of those reps, as we said, with Washington State. And one guy said to me, I went to his pro day, it was unbelievable. He said, what I like best about him is he moves his hands so well. And he said in the NFL, if you're going to be a left tackle in a high volume passing offense, you're going to get a lot of these speed rush defensive ends who are moving their hands. You got to be able to replace your hands. He does it great.
Now, this isn't a guy who's like fully complete. He's not gonna, you don't have to teach him some run stuff.
Run stuff,
Because
yes.
Washington didn't do it.
Yeah.
So he's not as complete a player as Garrett Bradbury Robinson, but he's a really good football player. and he's somebody that is plug and play in his own right.
I'd slip right over my head. I mean, that was brilliant.
Okay, guys.
Unbelievable.
Let's move on to the 24th pick, shall we? Okay.
Yes.
With the 24th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Raiders. Hold it. Now reading my prompter. Josh Jacobs, running back, Alabama.
Great pick.
Okay, so.
Patty, you going to see him like this? Okay.
Oh, he loves it. Yeah, I was going to ask you.
No.
Yeah.
I
was
love
like,
the
is he
pick.
not
I
like
also
this?
hate the Raiders, so I don't even want to think about them.
Pat, is this a Marshawn Lynch replacement?
Yeah, it doesn't play like Marshawn Lynch, though. I mean, he was the best out of that stud stable of running backs that Alabama had because he had explosiveness. He put moves on people. He put good defensive backs and linebackers on the ground going around him. But he also had power for 216 pounds. I mean, this guy has the whole package. He can catch the ball. And that's one thing in Alabama diversified the offense in part because they could split him out and they could throw to him. 1 touchdown every 10 times he touched the ball last year. There's not much tread taken off of his tires because at Alabama you never get the ball very much. He averaged 8 carries a game last year. So he can play for a lot of years theoretically before he gets hurt, and he fits in right away.
SEC title game. 8 touches, 2 touchdowns, 86 yards, MVP. MVP of the game.
By the way, let's appreciate the fact Gruden wants to run the ball.
Yep.
And his running backs also need to be able to catch.
Yeah.
This guy can do it. With his ability to make people miss, he's going to be really dangerous as a dump-off guy. He can run some routes. He's a natural receiver. As a playmaker, someone that can extend plays. This is a guy that's a really good fit.
I saw him run a corner route. I mean, he ran advanced routes.
I think the follow-up to that, you just saying how versatile this guy is, what's the fantasy impact that he has?
Yeah, listen, I think Josh Jacobs is clearly the top fantasy rookie in the 2019 class. If the draft board breaks this way, this is a ridiculous spot for him. And the Raiders, with 3 first-round picks, have an opportunity to do this. These guys hit all the key points. He's a good receiver. They had him in motion a ton at Alabama. I'm really excited about this. Not a lot of tread off the tires. Only 140 touches last year. We like that. We like it a lot. He didn't test that well as an athlete. But there are plenty of guys at this position. James Conner comes to mind, Dalvin Cook comes to mind, who aren't necessarily athletic monsters, who just have all the instincts. I think this is a really exciting pick. I think he's probably the RB 18 to 20. I'm going to give him 1,000 scrimmage yards next year, probably 7 or 8 touchdowns too. This is really exciting.
What do you guys think of that analysis?
I think that's about on point. He's going to get the football under Grue. Like, Gruden's going to give him the football. He'll have his opportunities. But Andy's on point. He knows what he's doing.
Never go full
That Andy guy knows what he's doing. Yeah. That's why he's here.
Don't kill off Josh Jacobs like you did Cadillac Williams. Like, you know what I mean? Where his career was like 5 games long. You know, it's
350 touches.
I want more of them.
All right, guys, moving right along. With the 25th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Eagles Jonathan Abram, safety, Mississippi State.
I like it.
Okay.
Okay. Charles, is this a lock to be a defensive back selected here in Philly?
Look, I think that there's no doubt that they could use a defensive back. I think the depth there. They've had some injuries. It's definitely a part of the team that's depleted. I can tell you if Abram goes to Philly, the Cowboys are going to be disappointed because this is a guy that they definitely like. Look, he's a little bit of I want to say like a throwback safety. He will play in the box. He'll play a little bit in the slot, but he's a hitter. He's a guy who's going to jump on routes. He's a guy who's going to hit you. He's going to plug in the run. I talked to some NFL guys, and they were just saying, like, the one thing that maybe we're a little bit concerned about is if he's going to have to play some deep balls, some deep routes, you can hit him over the top sometimes. You will get this guy. But you're not going to run on him a ton. He will come in. He'll fill hard. And if that's the kind of safety you're looking for, sort of a little bit of a tone setter, he's definitely that guy who can fill it.
I love this. And I'll tell you what, 26 Indianapolis Colts, Chris Ballard would love this guy too. So if he sees him go off one pick before his slot, that would anger Chris Ballard, I think, in Indianapolis, pair him with Malik Hooker. But in Philly, you learn from 2 good starting safeties right now, and, you sort of see how Jenkins does it and then take over next year as the full time.
Teams throw so much, like, he'll get on the field with right guys, too.
Yep.
Well, I think in the modern NFL, he's a really interesting guy, right? He started his career at Georgia, transferred to JUCO, had 2 seasons at Mississippi State, and all he did was produce. Again, another guy who played under 2 different defensive coordinators and 2 different systems, so there's some flexibility there. He's a small-town Mississippi kid, loves ball. Joe Moorhead told me today in his 21 years, he's never had a guy who practiced harder every day than Abram. And I really think that he's that extra guy in the box who's a thumper, and he could also maybe play a little bit of slot corner too. Yeah. So there's some versatility and some flexibility, but I feel like modern safeties now have to be an extra linebacker, and he can do that.
Sorry, not to cut you off there, but do you think that they could still be in the market for a running back here, even though the Eagles did recently trade Jordan Howard?
That's a good question. I feel like the Eagles are going to look at defense more than that. I feel like their secondary is a place where that they need to shore up, and I really like this pick for Philadelphia.
That's typically a really good sign, but I like what you said about how hard he practiced. Like, guys who practice hard, even when they're in college and they're about to go to the NFL, those guys typically end up being something. Yeah. They end up contributing somehow because the dirty little secret about football is practicing kind of stinks. It's not a lot of fun to actually practice and prepare to play the game. So when guys have a lot of enthusiasm and they're a juice giver, an energy giver,
there's the juice.
They're just gonna drop it one time. They're gonna contribute.
One thing I learned spending the season with the Dolphins scouts last year is that scouts are almost more like reporters. They want to find out more information as much as they have to evaluate film. And the number one question scouts ask is, does he love football? And Abram answers that with spades.
He hung out at the Senior Bowl. He couldn't even practice. He was injured. He just hung out just to hang out and be around football. It tells me a lot. Yep.
Okay. All right, moving on. With the 26th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Colts Jeffrey Simmons, defensive tackle, Mississippi State. All right, so Pat, back-to-back Mississippi State players off the board. Are there any concerns with Simmons coming off of that torn ACL, though?
Well, you're not looking at him as an immediate impact guy because if you tear your ACL in February and you're a rookie coming in and you're not even a 4-year guy, you're a 3-year guy, so there's going to have to be you got to give him time physically and mentally, I think. But all right, he's the 3rd Mississippi State guy picked in the first round here for us. I think he might be the best one of the 3.
Yeah.
I really like him. 6'4", 300, 63 total tackles, which is a lot for an interior defensive lineman. 17 tackles for loss. He gets through the line. He disrupts a lot of stuff no matter where you put him. And he was good against the good teams. 10 tackles against LSU, 6 tackles against Alabama, 6 in the bowl game. Had some off the field worries in high school. He overcame them. There were no real significant concerns about him in college. I really like the pick. I think he's going to be a very good pro.
if the high school stuff comes back up again
Yeah,
now that he's picked to a new city.
Yeah, because talking to some people, they're like, this is an owner's pick. Like, the team has to decide
100%.
if they're comfortable with that. I think it's enough for some teams will completely knock them off the board. First round talent for sure, even with the ACL injury. I don't know. Even talking to guys like in the span of 30 minutes, talking to multiple people, they'll say, did you see the video? And what does see the video mean for them? It's amazing how some teams look at the same footage and feel like, you know what, we can live with that. Other guys will say, you know what, we don't even want to.
Did you see the Colts going offense or defense here?
I saw them going defense. And I think the line will be a big strength. I think they've revamped the O-line. Now it's D-line starting.
A couple things I'll say about this pick for the Colts. Number one, they need the help on the interior defensive line. Like, I did a lot of tape work on those guys to get ready for the Chiefs playoff game. And, like, the first thing you notice is that there's no one that you need to worry about on the interior defensive line. This is somebody that you better deal, because he looks like Ndamukong Suh. Like, physically, he looks the part. The other thing, Indianapolis, because of the stuff that he dealt with, that he had to deal with in high school, that's a market that could probably accommodate that.
Yeah.
Like, the market matters. If you're a team that has had some of this stuff in the
come to
past,
New York.
yeah, you better make sure that the media is not too big and you don't have a history taking guys with a history of that.
I talked to Dan Mullen today, who took him at Mississippi State and took a lot of heat, quite frankly, for it. And he talked to a lot of NFL teams because they obviously had to go through and do character checks because this was going to come up. And Dan said he proved he was worth giving a second chance to, and he thought he was a top 5 talent. So this could really end up being a steal. The ACL, obviously.
Yeah, no, look, the video, incredibly troubling.
Yes.
Context to the video helps explain it some, you know. But still, it is something, you're absolutely right, Kimberly, that is an owner's pick. You better sign off on it.
Great point.
All right, great points, guys. Let's move right along. With the 27th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Raiders Byron Murphy, cornerback, Washington.
Good football player.
Perez. Does Oakland get their lockdown corner?
I don't know if he's going to be a lockdown corner. I think at the end of the day, in the first round, you want your cornerback to have all the tools, right? So what he does well, he sees the game well. He's got good eyes, good technique, and he's got ball skills. You wish he tested a a little better. Like, this is
not blazing.
This is a 4.55 guy, but I watched a lot of a 4.55 guy in Marcus Peters. You can still play if you run that like that. You can still play if you can see the game and have ball skills. Murphy has it. He's going to be a plug and play, really good football player from the outset.
I had an AFC evaluator who said, and we talked a little bit about his speed, the fact that he was a mid 4.5 guy. He said at the combine, he thought it was some of the best drill work he's seen out of a cornerback in years. And I said, okay, well, who is he then? So give me the guy who he is. He said, you know what? Joe Hayden. I said, I think he's a Joe Hayden.
That's
guy.
good. Good call.
Think about this. Jimmy Lake, veteran NFL defensive back coach, is the DC in Seattle right now. So that's probably where some of that drill work comes from. But he's going to come NFL ready because he's had an NFL coach in college.
Let's talk about this. Quentin at 4. Josh Jacobs at 24.
That's a hell of a
Byron
draft.
Murphy at 27.
The Raiders should let us draft.
Get Mayo.
Much better plays.
That would be a haul. I mean, look, you don't get your quarterback maybe until the second round, third round, whatever,
Hey,
but.
believe me, there's a chance John will forget Mayock.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you like that, Eric? If they get those 3 players, that's a pretty good. You
I think that's a haul.
Pick it any better than that.
Great haul.
I just wrote up Murphy this week. I have him as my number 12 player overall. I realize that year 1, it may not look exactly like it should, right? It's going to have some learning curves. But Garrett Conley on one side, Byron Murphy, what they lack in size, they make up for it in playmaking ability. I like it right here.
And he tackles.
He does tackle. He's got effort. Yep.
I might take him ahead of Greedy, really.
Maybe.
Bold
No,
statement.
I'm telling you what.
Yeah.
I absolutely think some teams would take him ahead of Greedy.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. Zone teams, yes.
You know what Murphy's going to be. Like that, you feel pretty comfortable with that. You know, Greedy with the off and on tackle switch. That
Greedy's a man cover guy, right?
Yeah.
And Murphy's a zone cover
Murphy
guy.
more of a
so-
zone or a press bail. Yeah, I could see it. Yep.
Okay. All right, with the 28th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Chargers Cleland Farrell, defensive end, Clemson. Pete, third Clemson D lineman drafted in the first round. Were you surprised here?
No, I really like this pick. I mean, Cleland Farrell was just the hyper-productive guy. Obviously, you had Big Dexter filling up the middle, and Farrell feasted on the outside. You're talking about a guy who had 20 TFLs, 11.5 sacks. Brent Venables, the Clemson DC, said he's a guy who likes to get his nose bloodied. He has the dog with a W mentality. I think this late, you're getting a guy who's proven it on the highest level. He's performed in the biggest games, and I really think him coming back to college, he made himself a lot of money this year, firming himself up as a first-round pick, being as productive as he was. I really think this is a safe, solid pick at this level.
Yeah, I mean, look, on that defensive line, he was the most productive guy. Had the most tackles, had the most sacks out of the three guys that we think are all getting picked. He's also a very smart guy. Smart player, thoughtful. He will be a media favorite, I guarantee that, because he gives a great interview, and I think he's another guy that benefits the locker room.
I don't have a problem with the player. I actually really like the player, and I think if he's lasting around this range, the next team up, the Chiefs should go up and get him. I have a problem with the fit, though, because Phillip Rivers is an older quarterback. They weren't that far away from getting to the Super Bowl. Can we get somebody to protect Phillip Rivers, please? Like, their right tackle situation is atrocious. And I think they need a guy that can at least take some snaps there. Caleb McGarry from Washington, 6'7", looks the part, super athletic. That's what I would do. But I don't have a problem with the player. This guy's a really good player, and if he's here, you can justify it. It's just, to me, you got Bosa. Melvin Ingram's still really good. Like, they got to be trying to maximize Phillip Rivers' window.
If Farrell went 10 picks higher, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. You know.
Well, doesn't this kind of remind you of the Giants taking Matthias Kiwanuka when they already had Strahan, they already had Justin Tucker? You know what I mean? Like a third end. Like, do we really need this?
Players. And that's the thing. Like NFL teams now, because the reluctance to trade is not there anymore. They'll deal guys, so they'll sit there and go, look, if this is the best player on our board now, we'll stack players now. We have no problem if we see this is a guy we could bring in, particularly if we can get him on the field. But even if we can't, maybe we can move someone else who's already on the roster. We'll trade guys now if we see a better player and a good value pick.
The GMs are now all former scouts. There's been a paradigm shift in that. So they're going to rely on their scouting. If there's a player this talented there, they're going to take him and adjust the roster to their scouting expertise.
Right.
All right, guys, we are moving through this with the 29th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL Mock Draft. Our experts have selected for the Chiefs, Taylor Rapp, safety, Washington. Charles, you mocked this pick. Are we looking at Eric Berry's replacement here?
I did mock this pick, but
Is this
then
another one you want to take back?
Now you're mocking your mock.
Yes, I had someone who mocked the pick after I mocked the pick. I made the pick after, look, Taylor, you're talking about a guy instinctual, takes good angles, he plays really hard, he has good ball skills. All this, I really liked him here, and then I literally was talking to a guy, an Evaluator AFC guy. I said, hey, I'm talking to him about the Chiefs, and I bring up safety, and I say Taylor Rapp, and he goes, hey, let me look at the official there, because I think he ran a 4.78 at his pro day, and he goes, I'd probably move him down a little bit. He's like, I think he's a second round pick.
Is it running forward or back?
Yeah, that was forward.
And in general, if you're going to look at the Chiefs, I'm just telling you, I've covered them a lot. They're going to take a guy, especially this high, who tests well. Right. They're going to do that. Right. Rapp doesn't fit that.
Listen, I didn't expect the 4.78.
No, I got you, see.
He's good.
To me, like, he's a good football player.
Yeah,
but
he's
to me, I think what happens here with the Chiefs, if Farrell's on the board at 25 or 20, if he's at the board at 22 or 20, they're going to go up and get an edge rusher because they need it. Another thing to keep in mind, they might deal this pick for an established edge rusher, or they'll move back. If this is the board, they'll be reaching on a corner or safety at this point.
Especially with division rivals picking right ahead of them, Oakland and Chargers.
Their general manager is very aggressive. Like, Brett Veach is going to find, there's some guy in this early 20 range that they don't swap this pick out or move down. There's a guy there they're going to go up. Farrell falling this high,
Farrell's a great fit
low,
for them.
just really just stands out to me.
To make myself feel better about Rapp,
Oh, here we go.
I do want to say one thing. A guy said, look, his instincts and some of the things that he does do well, someone may get him in the second round. He reminds me of Eric Weddle. He's like, would you be happy with Eric Weddle?
Yeah.
Sure.
Good player. Could be the second Chinese-born player to make the NFL as well. Kind of a cool story as well.
That's great.
Well, one other thing I'll say, Murphy is an option here for the Chiefs if he falls, but there's another cornerback, Rock Ya-Sin. Okay. Rock Ya-Sin's a good football player, and he tests well, and he's a guy that he needs technique work. There's no question about the athleticism or how he looks. Because somebody made the joke, like, his name is Rock. Well,
that was me.
Yeah, he looks like that.
I said it's not his name. That's actually where he came from. They carved him out of the rock.
Yeah, because if you're an NFL coaching staff and a guy has those physical traits, you're gonna like the fact that all you gotta do is teach him the technique.
All right, we're still laughing at 30, so that's good. I'm happy with it. With the 30th pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Packers, N'Keal Harry, wide receiver, Arizona State. Therese, you mocked 4 wide receivers in the first round. None of them were Harry. Was this a bad pick?
It was DK.
Hollywood. Oh, you had A.J. Brown.
AJ Brown. I can't remember who the fourth one was.
Hollywood Brown.
It was Hollywood.
Butler.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was Butler. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna pull a Charles. I'm sorry. I'm gonna pull a Charles. Since then, I've had some conversations.
Guys, my God.
Butler drops the ball a lot. So I think I get 1 if Charles has had 8. All right. So here's what I'll say though. Right.
I'm not afraid to admit when other people tell me I'm wrong. I'm like, all right, I'm
So
wrong.
I just did the same. Here's what I'll say about Harry. He's got experience being the number 1 guy. This was the number 1 prep receiver 3 years ago. Arizona State has used him. Okay, they have used this guy. He's competitive with the ball in the air. He even tested better than we thought. Because like when you look at him on tape, there's not a lot of separation. And it's not gonna get better in the NFL against better athletes. That's something to be concerned about. The focus drops are something to be concerned about. He's an outside receiver though. He's a big kid. He's used to being the number 1 guy. He carries himself with some swagger. You know, I could see him being a starting Z, you know, for Green Bay, and Rodgers could help him be pretty
give
good.
Rodgers some more weapons.
Dare I say I like the pick? Dare I say I like the pick?
I don't like 4 wide receivers, but
You've got a guy who had
I hear you.
back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, right? Yeah. He was as productive and as consistent as any receiver in all of college football. Look, he's not going to be a burner. He's a 4-5, low 4-5 guy. He's not going to stretch the field, all right? This is not going to be our Ted Ginn route tree, if you will.
No.
He's a guy who's going to go to the sticks and he's going to catch the ball and he's going to be big and tough.
He wins contested balls too.
Oh, yeah, he does. No.
Todd Graham told me in 30 years he's never had a better competitor that he's coached. He came in as a 5-star and he's leaving as a first-round pick, which doesn't always happen. That's not always a linear path. He has not acted like a 5-star, and I appreciated that about him. And look, he did it in their biggest games. Remember, he torched Michigan State early last season. I really like N'Keal Harry. If you don't want him to be more than he is, he's not going to be everything, but he's going to be great for a long period of time.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like you throw those 50-50 balls in the red zone in the corner of the end zone, he's going to get more than his share.
Tough-minded kid, too, can deal with Aaron Rodgers, you know?
that
Just
matters.
saying.
There's a pretty good chance that if he lands in Green Bay, he's the first or second rookie that we draft in fantasy, right? This is a great spot. And you talk about his separation. Does it really matter with Aaron Rodgers, who has just impeccable ball placement?
Wait, so we're giving them T.J. Hawkinson and also a wide receiver.
Did Andy do this draft?
Yeah, exactly.
Just completely capitulating to
Did
Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers do this draft? Like, seriously. Is he also the GM?
Our mock draft computer talked to some people, and that's how they've changed it since then.
That's hilarious.
All right, guys, 2 picks left. With the 31st pick in the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL mock draft, our experts have selected for the Rams, Eric McCoy, center, Texas A&M. Eric, does this fill the hole that was left by John Sullivan in the middle of the Rams line?
It might. Yeah, here's the thing with him. I mean, one of the issues he had was in that Alabama game, the snapping, not hearing, the crowd was sort of blaring him out a little bit. Now, he played great against Quentin Williams, like as well as, he gave up a tackle for loss, but still, like held his own against him. Wasn't named first or second team All-SEC, but faced Dexter Lawrence and faced Cleland, Farrell and those guys and did a good job against Derek Brown against Auburn, who's going to be a top 10 pick next year. He just may not be a great center. I think he might be a better guard. They also have, the kid from Michigan State, Brian Allen, they drafted last year. So, you could play around with the position a little. I like the player, though.
There's needs at both spots for those guys.
Exactly.
Like, they need a right guard.
Austin Blythe was getting killed in the Super Bowl.
Eric McCoy's the kind of guy that you're going to draft and your little draft party, people are just going to be staring at the screen like, But at the end of the day, he's going to be starting for you for 8 years and be like a really good player. This guy's solid. He's got a nasty demeanor too. He's just a good football player.
Reliability. He's got a good thick base. I talked to Cole Kublik, who played offensive lineman at at Auburn and does a great job on Twitter breaking down lineman stuff. And he's watched a lot of Eric McCoy, loved him. So he's versatile, as you said, offense, could play center or guard, good hands, power, durable. And as you said, he played well against the best defensive lineman, against Alabama, against Clemson. He did a good job. He's a sticky kind of blocker. People don't get away from him that easily.
I like him.
Pat, you said he was the best or top center on the board. So do you like him at 31? You feel like he's right where he belongs?
Yeah, I mean, because, you're not going to bankrupt your board to go get a center. So if you're getting him at 31, I think that's fine.
Charleswood.
Deal. But then he take it back.
Better than Garrett Bradbury. Are we gonna have to fight?
That was before I knew you had adopted.
This is a blood war for Charles.
Hold back. We got one pick.
Had I known you had filed the
don't fight,
adoption
we're
papers,
very
I might have reconsidered.
All right.
I'm gonna make you my son after this. It's gonna be an adoption, okay?
Pat 40 Robinson.
That's right. That's right.
You know what that means, guys. We have made it with the final pick in the first round of the 2019 Yahoo Sports NFL Mock Draft. Our experts have selected for the Super Bowl champion Patriots, Noah Fant, tight end, Iowa. Obviously, Patriots trying to fill a huge hole here left by Rob Gronkowski, and that's really big shoes to fill. Is Fant the guy? Kimberly?
He's a guy.
He's a guy.
He's good, athletic guy. He's no TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, you got that right.
But I get it. I understand why he was mocked here. I think because they need a tight end with Gronkowski. To me, he doesn't block. Like that to me is a problem, especially in New England.
Have we not learned the Patriots don't draft for need? Like they don't. We always, what do the Patriots need here? Yep. They never do that. They're like, we have 58 good guys at this position, but this is the best player on the board.
Right.
Let's take that guy. Give me Rock Ya-Sin here, okay? Like give me a good coverage corner. A guy who can press, who can get up. I will take Rock Ya-Sin.
I agree.
I just think Fant. I think you sit there. Fant. Hand problems, right? You're gonna drop the ball.
Don't have time for
How
that.
quickly is Tom Brady gonna try to murder a guy dropping a ball?
Tom doesn't throw to guys he doesn't trust.
Right.
He's dropping the
Let
ball.
him drop a ball.
If they're gonna pick a tight end, they're gonna go with Belichick's other bromance and take Irv Smith from Alabama.
That's who I mocked
there
for
you
them.
go.
I like that.
If we could put trade down at 32, that would probably be the best option.
They've got a bunch in the early second, too, so they've got a lot of capital to play with. I wouldn't be surprised if they shot up to take not need.
That's a
mentioned,
good point, Pete.
You guys mentioned Brady not throwing to guys he doesn't trust. So, Andy, how does Fant's fantasy production look playing with Tom Brady in New England?
Yeah, this would pretty much be a dream scenario for fantasy, right? Like, it's not going to happen. Either the Patriots trade out of this pick or Fant goes earlier or later. Like, this isn't going to happen. But we look at what Gronk was seeing over the past couple seasons. It was 6.5 targets per game. If that were to go to a guy like Noah Fant, who not just a guy, like this guy tested as a 98th percentile spark athlete, okay? He is an exceptional athlete. He was the only guy who actually outscored TJ Hawkinson in that regard. Almost makes you think that Iowa should have had a better passing game, right?
You think?
But let's set that aside for a moment. I mean, if he actually goes to New England, he's probably the tight end 7, tight end 8 for fantasy purposes. You're talking about a situation in which he could catch 6 to 8 touchdown passes.
You know what I think we could see here? Belichick sits back, lets all these D linemen settle where they go, because there's 11 viable guys. Somebody slips and he grabs the best player available, who's like a Brian Burns slips or somebody like that slips, and they sweep in, maybe use some of that early draft capital in the second round to swoop up and get a player who can help them long term.
All right, guys, we are done with the first round. But before we go and say goodbye, now that you look at this board, how does it, stand out to you? What are some things that surprised you? Let's go around the horn and see. Eric, take it away.
Tight end ending the draft. That's the way I wanted to see it, of course. Now, I think you look at these top 4 picks. If we'd have done this a year ago, no way in heck are we having Kyler Murray, Nick Bosa, maybe Nick Bosa, Josh Allen, Quentin Williams. These were not really on the NFL's radar. It just shows you how much it could change.
It's a great point, Eric. It really is. And I just think, again, it starts with Kyler Murray and the biggest gamble we have seen in how long with the number 1 pick, in my opinion. And so that, whether it works, whether they stick with the pick, is just going to be fascinating to see.
I think Ed Oliver fell too far. I think he goes earlier, and I think he's a disruptive, big-time, elite, best D lineman of this draft.
Wow. Other than Quentin.
I think 4 quarterbacks in the top 17 is probably a little unlikely. And actually, I will say this about the Raiders. If that's their board, if you get Quentin Williams, Josh Jacobs, Byron Murphy, I'm pretty happy with that for the Raiders, honestly. I think that'd be great.
I actually mocked the Giants Gary and Daniel Jones, but I'm curious if the Giants just go through the first round and say, screw the quarterbacks, we're not taking any. That would be, New York would just go insane, and that'd be amazing.
So to me, I think that the top 10 really accurately affects where the NFL is headed, right? Like we talk about throwing the football, protecting the passer, hitting the quarterback. Like those are the things that matter. Well, guess what? Of the top 10, 9 of those guys do one of those 3 things. I think it's a really good, gives you a really good idea like what the NFL is right now.
My first takeaway is that Charles's mock was obviously trash.
Hey,
You would agree with
that
it
is
to an
true.
extent, right?
Which is why
You know
he
what?
had to take back
give it
a bunch
4
of his
years,
picks.
but give it 4 years, then come back.
Second takeaway is how did Mississippi State end up in what, the Outback Bowl? Is that what it was?
Seriously, a lot of talent.
3 first-round picks, that's crazy. And then the fantasy winners here are pretty obvious. Josh Jacobs is your top fantasy rookie if the draft board breaks this way, and I think there's a really good chance that he ends up with the Raiders. Harry is probably your top wide receiver heading into day 2 if this is how the first round goes. And I think, again, Kyler Murray, because of the rushing ability, really interesting fantasy commodity.
Okay, guys. How's
We
it
did
feel?
it.
We
great.
did it. Okay.
This stuff is easy.
And with that, we've completed our first round mock draft. Don't forget to tune in to our first round draft coverage next Thursday night, April 25th. Yahoo Sports NFL Draft Live airs at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on Yahoo Sports app, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch. You really can't miss it. For Charles Robinson, Therese Paylor, Kimberly A. Martin, Pete Thamel, Pat Forty, Eric Edholm, and Andy Behrens, I'm Michelle Gingras. That's all from New York. Thanks for watching and enjoy the draft next week.